Lee Corso. Announcement made earlier today by the good people over at ESPN that Lee Corso is going to give it one more go. Week one of the 2025 season, August 30th, I believe is that date, whatever that Saturday is, 30th or 31st. He's going to one more ride, and then that's it for Lee Corso. So we could talk some about that. I don't know what I could say about Lee Corso that probably hasn't been said a million times by a million people over the last 10 years about Lee Corso. But like a lot of people my age, I kind of grew up with Lee Corso in terms of watching college football. I know ESPN is sort of a little bit of a divisive topic right now in a couple of different ways. I don't see any reason why Lee Corso would be disliked or anything by anybody. I mean, honestly, not just Lee Corso, but College Gameday, as a TV show, as a football program, I think, has a lot to do with the overall popularity of college football in the last 30 years. Now, did they do it by themselves? No. There's, lots of different things have happened at different periods of time that have sort of propelled college football to what it is today. But, it's by far the most watched pregame show of any sport anywhere. I know a lot of y'all have been watching it for years. I have too. And it'll be a little different, I guess, without Lee Corso on there. I don't think they'll keep the headgear thing going. A couple of people asked in the comments at the top of the show, who's going to start doing the headgear. I don't think they should do it. To me, that's specifically a Lee Corso thing. And I think when he sort of hangs it up with College Gameday, they should sort of hang up the headgear thing too. It wouldn't seem right to see somebody else do it. When they brought Pat McAfee on a couple of seasons ago, to me, that's kind of Lee Corso's replacement. Not that I don't think Pat McAfee's going to start putting the headgear on. At least I hope he doesn't. I think that should just kind of, the headgear thing should retire with Lee Corso. But Lee Corso was always like a little bit of comic relief on that show. There's the famous clip from about 10 or 12 years ago where he cussed on there. I think he said fuck, didn't he? He was like, oh, fuck it. He was doing a headgear thing. Who remembers that? You can find it on YouTube. If you do a search for like Lee Corso cusses, you can find it. But you know how like sometimes he'll reach for one headgear to try to trick the crowd and then throw it down and grab the other one and put it on? It was that kind of thing. And he went to grab the first one and he went to put it on and he was like, ah, fuck it. And he threw it down and put the other one on. I mean, there's a million like funny Lee Corso stories like that. And if you've been watching College Gameday as long as I have, or even if you hadn't, if you've been watching it for any amount of time, really, you probably have your own favorite sort of headgear moment or Lee Corso moment or something like that. There's a website that has tracked every headgear pick Lee Corso has ever made. Some teams or, some fans, I guess, not teams, some fans are very superstitious. I see it amongst Georgia fans. You might see it amongst some fans of whatever team you pull for too, where when game day is at your team's game, you always have some fans who will say all week long, I hope Corso doesn't put on our mascot head. Every time he picks us, we lose. Things like that. Anyway, he became intertwined really in college football. I don't think you can tell the story of college football in the modern era without talking about Lee Corso. And, he obviously has had less and less to do with that show as the years have gone on. Really, since COVID is when it became really noticeable. I think it was 2019, was it, when he had a stroke? And he started to become less and less involved in sort of the first 2 hours of the show. And then, of course, recently this year, last couple of years, he's kind of really just come out at the end and done the headgear thing. And but he's 90 years old. Is that right? I think he's 90. Wow. I mean, there's only a handful of names in the history of college football that I think you would say, okay, Lee Corso, maybe Keith Jackson. You, you got to be my age or a little older, even probably to remember Keith Jackson. But there's not very many names that have been more influential or had a bigger impact, I think, on college football than Lee Corso. So shout out to Lee Corso. One more ride with the headgear for Lee Corso, week 1 of 2025. And he'll be at the Ohio State-Texas game. They haven't announced that, I don't think. But that would be my guess. That's the biggest game of week 1, Texas and Ohio State. It's one of the biggest games of the year. I would be shocked if he's not in Columbus. And you may or may not know this, but his first ever headgear pick was at a game in Columbus at Ohio State, and he put on the Ohio State headgear. Be kind of cool for his last show to be back there too. So I would be surprised if ESPN does anything other than Columbus, Ohio for that week 1 college game day broadcast.